You begin to get this invincible feeling when you understand that you are your point of attraction and that you can control your point of attraction. Then you begin to understand that you can carve out a path of least resistance to anything that you want. Better said, you can carve out a path of least resistance to anything wanted or unwanted. And do you know how you carve out a path of least resistance? By giving it attention. Because when you give it attention, you offer a vibration, and law of attraction brings more vibrations like it until a momentum begins to happen that carves out a path of least resistance between you and it. And as you carve out paths of least resistance between you and whatever your subject of attention is, then you go to it and it comes to you. You rendezvous. You become one. You become co-creative partners, wanted or unwanted, because you've carved out the path of least resistance. Esther has a beautiful stream and pond in Texas at the center, at the Abraham Hicks Publication Center. Such a pretty thing. And the stream, when it was first put in, was so clear. The fish were so beautiful, but over the years, it became increasingly cloudy until Esther realized she couldn't see the fish. So finally, it was determined that the pipes bringing the water back into the pond were all clogged up from neglect. So they just laid some new pipes. It was easier than digging the old ones out. It was easier than trying to clean the old ones out. They tried all of that. They just laid new pipes. New pipes from the pump to the pond. And right away, the pond cleared up. So we want to say to you that we love you so much, but you've got some clogged pipes. Because you're asking for things. Step one, you're asking. And non-physical, the universe, law of attraction, is delivering to you the results of your request. But if you are not in a vibrational place that matches what you're asking for, your pipes are all clogged up. So we think that it's time to lay some new pipes. We want to show you how, by giving attention to what you are wanting, you will carve out a path of least resistance to what you're wanting. Such a good place for us to be at this point of this discussion. So, let's say that you have a list of things that you want. Emotions that you want to achieve, or discs, the disc that you want to achieve, or conditions, physical conditions, relationship experiences, material objects. So let's say you have a list of them. I want this specific BMW M5. I want this specific physical body weight. I want this specific feel and texture and deliciousness of a relationship. So you have this list of things. So there it exists. Now make this statement about it. I want to have fun on my way to that. I want to have fun on my way to that. I want to have fun on my way to that. I want to have a really good time on my way to that. That puts everything in the proper perspective. You see what we're getting at? I want to have a good time on my way to that. Because it's a journey that never ends. And so it doesn't matter whether the steps are small or large. It just matters that they're fun while I'm taking them. I want to have fun on my way to greater clarity. I want to have fun on my way to figuring out this high-flying disc. I want to have fun on my way to my ideal body weight. I want it to be fun. I want this experience to be fun because, it is so much fun to identify something wanted and find resonance with it and then watch the cooperative components. It's like you feel like this creator of the universe, that everything is at your fingertips and you are the orchestrator of all things. It is so exhilarating. It is so fun. It is so fun on my way. It's going to be so much fun on my way to that BMW M5. So much fun. It's going to be so much fun on my way to 120 pounds or whatever you want. It's going to be so much fun. So much fun. It's going to be fun on the way. It's going to be fun on the way. Fun on the way. fun on the way, because all along the way, I get to feel inspired. All along the way, I get to see results of my inspiration. All along the way, I get to see other cooperative components. All along the way, I get to feel the inspiration. Fun along the way. There's no gap between where I am and where I want to be, because where I want to be is on a disc that I can do now. You see, 40 pounds, not instantly. You don't want it that way, really. You don't want it that way. And you really don't want your way instantly into that car either. You really don't want your way instantly into anything. You want fun along the way. It's the savoring of it. We've been offering for quite a while the analogy that you really don't want to eat all of the meals that you will eat for all of this life today. You really don't want them to all show up today. Every good thing. There was a man, a taxi cab driver last night, describing pie. Ooh, pie. He just kept talking about pie. Everyone was talking about pie. Ooh, pie, pie, pie. They were talking about pie. It's fun to think about pie, but you really don't want to eat all those pies today. You don't want them all today. You don't want them all today. Hurling would come next. You don't want them. You don't want them all today. You want it to come to satisfy your current appetite. Ooh. You want all of these wonderful things to come to satisfy your current appetite. And you've got an appetite for fun and clarity and appreciation and love. So, as we visit with you here today, we want to talk about this momentum. And we want to bring you to the place of really understanding that when you are in vibrational alignment with who you really are, when you've practiced yourself into that vibrational frequency so that you are predominantly there, that's when you actually begin to live your life in the powerful, co-creative way that you've intended. That's when true life begins for you in the way that you planned. That's when you really get on the trajectory that you intended when you made the decision to come here to begin with. So, over time, we said to you, you create your own reality and you get what you think about whether you want it or not. And then we began to explain to you that when you know what you don't want, you launch a vibrational rocket of what you do want. Now, that was never a very satisfying conversation for you, because we're talking about rockets that you can't really see, going into what we began to describe as a vortex. Oh, that was fun. The vortex of creation. It was such a good concept, such a good way of explaining to you. We wrote a whole book about your vortex, saying to you, get into your vortex, get into your vortex. Because when you've launched a rocket about what you want, and you've done it and done it and done it and done it and done it, there is a reality, a vibrational reality that is ready to reveal itself to you in full manifestational form, but you've got to be a vibrational match to what you're asking for. So we began talking to you about this vortex of creation, and many of you resonated with it. You got the idea of it, that there is a vibrational reality that is in place before there is a manifested reality. But it's hard for you to make that jump in most cases because you are so accustomed to translating things visually and auditorially and with your nose and your fingertips and your tongue. You're so good at that when we talk about a vibrational reality that you cannot see and that you cannot hear and that you cannot smell or taste or touch, it wasn't as real as you wanted it to be. And then we began to explain, but you can feel your way into it. When you're happy, you're there. When you feel elation, you're a vibrational match to what's in there. And if you can keep it up, if you can keep the momentum going in the direction of what you want long enough, and it's not that long, if you can hold yourself in vibrational steadiness with who you really are and what you really want, a momentum will ensue that will be realized by you in full manifestational form, so that in time, everyone around you will be able to witness the manifestation that has moved from the vibrational reality into what you want to call reality. You don't want to call it reality until you can sleep with it or spend it or eat it or live in it or drive it. In other words, we get it. You want it to be about your spaces and faces and places. We get that. But we want you to understand that everything that everybody wants, no matter what it is, Whether it's a material object or a relationship or a state of being or a pile of money, a circumstance, an event, everything that everybody wants is for the singular reason that you believe you will feel better in the having of it. And we want to remind you here today that not only will you feel better in the having of it, we can't even find words to explain to you how glorious clarity is, how wonderful it is to be chronically connected to this stream of well-being. So now we have another way of explaining it to you. So the vortex, which is the vibrational reality, which some of it you're allowing yourself to live and some of it not, this vortex has enough in it to keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes. So if you can relax and expect good things to come to you, then more of the things that you've defined begin to flow specifically into your experience. It's such a nice thing. So we began describing to you that you've got to prepare yourself for the content of the vortex to reveal itself to you. So as you hold yourself in vibrational difference from the vibration that is in your vortex, then you disallow yourself the full manifestation of it. So we began talking about your point of attraction. What is your point of attraction? What is your right now, in this moment, in every moment, relationship with what you've created, with what's actually in the vortex? Well, you can tell by the way you feel what your relationship is, but you can also tell by how things are turning out for you. So we began describing this vibrational grid. It's like a vibrational state of being that will fill in with all of the details. It's like the framework of a house. First the framework goes up, and then eventually they put the roof on and the walls go in and more detail comes to it. But initially there's a sort of a grid-like structure, and we want you to be aware that you've got this grid-like structure going on all the time that you have control over, that most of you have not been exercising your control as much as you can, or even hardly at all, because you've been observers of things rather than determined that you're going to prepare a grid, a point of attraction that matches what's in your vortex. So as we began describing this point of attraction, this grid, reminding you that your emotions are your indicator of really where your grid is. So if you recall the conversations that we've had about the emotional scale, where there is despair or powerlessness, and there is revenge, and there is frustration, and there's hopefulness, and then there's love and eagerness and all of those things that feel so good, appreciation. So this emotional scale, we want you to now superimpose over this emotional scale of not feeling good to feeling really good, these spinning discs, your point of attraction. So Esther began thinking to herself, what disc am I on? She'd say to someone, I'm on the Henri disc, so you might want to stay away. But the truth of it is, no one can stay away because law of attraction is so powerful, especially if there's momentum going. So what really happened is, even though Esther said, stay away, I'm Henri, really what happened, other Henri people joined her on her disc. And then when they would get there, she would say, you're really Henri, I really don't like you being here. And they would say to her, well, you're Henri too. I really don't like you being here. But here we are, Henri together, just like law of attraction says that we must be. So if you really want to know what disc you're on, just look around. If there are Henri people around you, that's your disc. Because they're not getting on otherwise, you see. They cannot defy law of attraction and jump on, oh yeah, I was on a high-flying disc. I was doing so good. I was just soaring, and then you showed up. No, that's not really what happened. No, I was worried about you showing up. I remember the last time you showed up. I was tensing against you showing up. I was remembering how much I didn't want you to show up. I was shouting, no, don't show up. And then you showed up. That's really how it happened. In other words, law of attraction is a very powerful thing, you see. And so Esther started having fun with these discs. She said, Abraham, it's like the 7 dwarves. There's the happy disc, the grumpy disc, the passive-aggressive disc. She's up to about 200 dwarfs now, as she's finding all kinds of places in this range of emotions. So we want to call your attention to your point of attraction. That's really what we want to talk about. Because if you will take it upon yourself as your conscious responsibility to choose the disc that you're on and then stay there deliberately by thinking about things that make it easier and easier for you to stay there, then you're going to start rendezvousing with more and more that makes it easier to stay there until you will have a momentum going that will keep you chronically, usually, often, most often on this high-flying disc. It's really, really wonderful to be on the high-flying disc, tuned in, tapped in, turned on, feeling clarity and passion and love.